Hello and welcome. I'd like to welcome everyone here today to this webinar. We're talking about healing the inner child today, which I believe is exciting work. I love working with the inner child because some of the problems that we face now here in our life stem back to our childhood. And it's really important for us to consider looking back only so far as we need to deal with the issues that may arise. We don't want to live in the past. Some people get trapped there, they get stuck there, and they find themselves living in the past. We don't want to do that. We don't want to live in the future. Some people just try to live in denial, and they just try to live this, what we call it, a delusional type of life. And so they live in this fairyland out in the future. What we want to do is we want to learn from the past. We don't want to live in it. We also want to look to the future, but we don't want to live there either. What we want to do is live in the present and learn to love our life. So thank you for being here today. I'm excited about this session. This is one of my favorite topics, healing the inner child, because I know how valuable and important it is for your mental health, for your well-being, and for your happiness here and now and off into the future. So let me ask you this. Where are you from? Let's start with that question. Where's everyone from? Perhaps if you could type in the chat. If you know how to use the chat, just type in the chat whereabouts you're from in the world. And also the other thing I want you to think about is, how are you feeling today? Are you in a good mood? You're happy? Are you ready to change? Are you curious? What we're looking for is childlike states of mind and emotion. So if you're going to change today, the way to change is to be curious and to get yourself into a childlike state. There's four that I like. The first is curiosity. You got to be curious. You got to want to know. You got to want to know, well, how do I do this? How do I make these changes? So that's the first thing. You want curiosity. The next thing you want is faith. Now, faith is a belief and hope in something that you can't see yet, but it's true, it's real. Others have been down that road. Others have experienced it. And maybe you've heard the stories and you want that healing for yourself. So you've got to have that faith, that belief and hope that it's possible. And not just that it's possible for you. The third thing you want is a feeling of joy. A feeling of joy, because my preference is to help you change in a state of joy rather than a state of pain or misery. So you want joy. And the last one is a state of excitement. You've got to find a little bit of enthusiasm inside of you, because those states are childlike states and they can help you get change and make your life better. All right, so let's look at who everyone's from. We've got Diane from Canada. Nice to have you here, Diane. We've got Krupp from Jersey City, New Jersey, is it? And Migdalia from New York. I've got Jenny from Vancouver. Wonderful. Nice to have you here. And Elizabeth from Texas. And Carrie's from near Niagara Falls, between that and Toronto, Canada. And Kaylee's from Auckland. So I've got New Zealand represent. Lovely to have you here. So it's nice to have you here. Now, there's several reasons why people turn up to personal development events. I'm just going to go through them really quick. If any of these resonate with you, just let me know in the chat. The first reason people turn up to personal development events like this one is because they want to increase their income. Just type in I if that's you. If the whole purpose in you being here is saying, hey, I want to develop myself so I can increase my income. I want to upgrade the money mindset. Just put I for increase income if that's why you're here. Others are here because they want to never work for a boss again. Maybe you'd like to branch out, do something on your own. Type in N if that's you, if you never want to work for a boss again. The next reason is you just love personal development. You just can't think of any better way to spend your afternoon than to go along to a personal development event. That may be you. So if you love personal development, just put in L for love personal development. There are others of you here because you want more spare time. Just type in S if you want more spare time. There are others here because you want to become an influencer in the world. You want to write a book, start a podcast, or become a seminar leader, somewhat like what I'm doing now. So if you'd like to do that, if you'd like to be not only the listener, but you'd like to be the presenter, Type in IN for influencer. You want to become an influencer in the world. And just so you know, influencers in the world today, in the world of TikTok, YouTube, and X and these other platforms, are becoming very wealthy. So realize that there is a potential there, earning potential that's huge. The next reason why you may be here, and that's tied into money there once again, is because you want to save for retirement. Type in R if you're heading into the golden years. The next reason why you may be here is you don't just want a little money, you want a lot of money, and we call this financial freedom. So type in F if it's all about financial freedom. Or what if you want to design a destiny for yourself? You're thinking, you know what, I'd like to be happy and just design a happy destiny. So if you want to design a destiny, type D for design a destiny. So there are various reasons why people turn up to personal development events. And I've just listed several of them there. We've got a few D's there. We've got, Kerry's got an I, increase your income. F is free time or financial freedom. And D is spare time is S, sorry. So it's F for financial freedom and D for design a destiny. Great. Excellent. All right. So that's why we're here. So if you want to heal your inner child today, just drop yes in the comments. If you'd like to do some healing work there. Fantastic. If you'd like to heal your inner child in a state of joy, if you'd like to do it in a state of joy rather than a state of pain or drudgery, drop in yes again. If you want to do it in a state of joy. And the third question I have is if you would like to find a fast and effective way to make a big difference in a short amount of time, write yes again. Big difference, short time, write yes again. All right, got plenty of yeses there. All right, thanks, Migdala. Thanks, Kerry. Kerry's getting involved. Diane's getting involved. Taylor, we've got Taylor there. Excellent. So everybody's getting involved, and that's wonderful. The more engagement we can see in that chat, the more I realize that you're invested, that you're here with me. You're not cleaning the house. You're not diverting your attention. So what I'd ask you in the next couple of minutes, just turn off any devices, put your mobile phone aside, and just realize that for the next little while, you can just lock yourself into this training so that we can actually get some work done. So what I want to talk about now is healing your inner child without being in therapy for the rest of your life. Who likes that idea? Who likes the idea of doing the healing work without having to do 7 to 10 years of therapy? Does that sound good to you? All right, so that's what we're wanting to do today. We want to change the state of joy. Now, during today's web class, you're going to learn how to unlock healing for your inner child in a state of joy. I mentioned that already. My preference is using joy as the catalyst to create change rather than using other emotions. There are some forms of coaching and therapy where they'll go back and they'll drudge up the past. They'll go and they'll stir up the past. They'll get you thinking about the trauma. They'll get you revisiting the trauma. They'll get you talking about the trauma. Just drop yes in the comments if you've ever had this happen before, where you've gone to see a therapist or seen somebody and you start talking about it and you go into this negative emotion because you're having to go back into this past negative experience and talk about it and share it. And what you're actually doing is reinforcing it and revisiting it. And so I'm going to show you a different approach today. We think of it as not alternative therapy, but it's a complementary therapy. And it's different. And I like that. And I like the change with a state of joy. So that's the focus here. Changing the state. Who's this for? It's for someone who has had trauma, pain, rejection, or loss. If that's you, just type in me in the chat. If that's you, if you've had trauma, pain, rejection, and loss. Taylor, thanks. I appreciate that. Diane, I can get this name right. Croup with a J at the end. All right, so we've got, it's not for someone who has no resistance from the past and you achieve all your goals. Here's one thing we find about trauma, pain, rejection, and loss is that when somebody goes through that, it can affect their life. It can affect the choices they make and also the risks they take. And so that's why I'm saying that those elements are really necessary when we think about this training. So if you always achieve your goals and there's no resistance from the past, then you really don't need to be here. But anyone who does, or anyone who's wondering if there is past resistance, like, do I procrastinate? Why do I procrastinate? Do I put things off? Procrastination, that silly thing, it always brings me sorrow. But I can beat it any day. I think I'll start tomorrow. So what we do is we put things off, or we bottle things up. We try to use distraction and avoidance techniques, and it doesn't always work. These things end up bubbling up. Who's experienced that? It just bubbles up when you least expect it. Now, if you stay to the end of today's presentation, I'm going to give you a gift. That's the next thing. Next, why am I qualified to teach this? I have 9 coaching certifications. I have done many, many courses, spent a lot of money on education. I believe in this work. Now, you might be someone who believes in it also, and if you are, that's great. And I really hope that you've started the process of actually investing. Now, there's 4 things you can invest. The first thing that you can invest is your time. You say, right, I'm going to invest some time into my personal development and growth. The second thing you can invest is your talents. You think about, well, what are my actual skills? How do I invest my talents? Well, it's by using your mind, focusing, and by thinking about, well, what am I good at? How do I learn the best? And then using your talents, using your time and your talents to produce a result. The next thing is you want to put energy into it. You don't want to be lackluster or half-hearted. You want to actually put your energy into the healing process. And finally is money. Some people say, well, I want all free stuff. I think all education should be free. Well, that's good. That's all fine. But just realize this, that you may get a different level of education if you only go for free stuff. When you start to invest your money into education, you get a different level of education and a different level of training. Who can appreciate that? Anyone here appreciate that? That if you're paying for something, that if somebody's actually investing their time into teaching you, there's a different level of education. For example, you want the free stuff. If you want free education, just go to ChatGPT and type in a question, get an answer, and then follow it. That's free training. You can get that for free. But if you want somebody who's invested, someone who's going to take you by the hand, someone who's going to guide you through a process, and that process could be a 20-minute meditation, or that process could be a year-long program. But what you're looking for is someone to guide you through a program or a series of processes that is going to lead to the eventual result that you want, deserve, and desire. So why am I teaching this? Well, why am I qualified? I'm qualified because I've done the work. And because I've done the work, it's almost like when you go through a process yourself and you stand on a mountaintop, then you've got a map. You know what works, you know what doesn't work. You've achieved the result, and then you say, well, I can show you how to do it. And that's really what it's all about. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to achieve any result in life, you need to begin with the end in mind. You need to begin by first using the faculty of your imagination to create the eventual outcome. You see, if you can't imagine something, then you can't achieve it. Dr. Wayne Dyer once had a young person approach him. And the young person basically said, Dr. Wayne Dyer, I've got this stutter and I'd like to get rid of it. It took him a while to get these words out. And then Dr. Wayne Dyer said, can you imagine yourself without a stutter? Being able to speak clearly and freely. And the boy said, no, I can't even imagine it. And Dr. Dyer said, well, I can't help you. And he turned around and started walking away. Now, he took 2 or 3 steps. And then he turned around and went back to the boy, who was standing there in shock. Like, here he is, this great, loving, generous individual. He's now passed away, had now walked away from him. It was almost like a rejection. And he's like, whoa, what's going on? And he said this to the young man. He said, if you can't first imagine something, then you can't achieve it. If you can't first imagine that it's possible, then you can't turn it into a probability. You can't turn it into absolute knowledge. You can't bring it into fruition. You must first be able to see it in your mind's eye before you can see it in reality. Does that make sense? Just drop yes in the comments if that makes sense. Now it's true, isn't it? We do everything in life twice. We do it first in our imagination, and then we do it second in reality. When you got up to go to the bathroom today, you first of all pictured yourself walking to the bathroom and then going to the bathroom, and then you actually did it. Now, you may not have had to picture it in the here and now because some of these processes in our life are automatic. It might be an automatic thing for you, but you've got to at least have first thought about it before actually doing it. And so we actually create everything twice. Once in our imagination and second in reality. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine that you've healed your inner child completely. Just imagine this. You've healed it completely. And ask yourself this question. What would I see? If I heal myself completely, what do I see? And if you visualize best with your eyes closed, you can close your eyes for this if you like. What do I see? What will I see? Second question, what will I hear? What will I hear in the world around me? What will other people say? Will I get a congratulation, well done, you're amazing? Perhaps. Okay, think about that. What would I feel? What are you going to feel? How are you going to feel that's different when you've healed your inner child? What feeling would you have? What negative feelings would you have gotten rid of? How would you have been freed? Just imagine that. Imagine what's different in your feelings. Now imagine this, who would be surprised? If you healed your inner child, who would be surprised by that? Family members, friends, other people would be like, wow, you're so different. What's happened? Like, it's like you're walking along with a spring in your step, you're lighter. What's going on? What's happened? So who'd be surprised? Who would be happy for you? Just think about that. Who'd be happy for you? Think about a couple of people who'd be happy for you. And now, because not everybody's a positive motivation person, some people are negatively motivated, and sometimes people will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. I'm going to ask two other questions. And if they resonate with you, that's fine. If they don't, then don't worry about them. Just leave them. But the next one is, who would you like to get back at or show up? Who would you like to show that you can do something great, that you can heal yourself? Is there anybody you'd like to just, what would you say? You'd like to rub your success in their face. So that's the last question. Whose success, or whose face would you like to rub your success in? Say, there, I told you I could. I'll show you. That type of thing, that type of attitude. So just have a think about that. And if that resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. But I just wanted to start with that idea of seeing the end from the beginning. So quite often, as human beings, well, we can't see the end from the beginning. We're not omnipotent. We can't be everywhere and know everything. We're not God. And so with that limitation, we don't know the outcome. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what we can do is imagine the possibility. And that's where we start with. So who was able to imagine that? Just drop yes in the comments if you imagined a possibility and it felt good, you felt lighter, it was happy, it was a good time. Who had an experience like that? I know that Jenny's saying feeling peaceful, Kerry's saying yes, Migdalia's saying yes, Taylor's saying yes, fantastic. All right, so let's move on. So what we've got here is we want to unlock ourselves without spending years in therapy, without having to have 100 blow-ups, without having to have contention and arguments. We'd like to just be able to heal. And that's what we're going to look at today. All right, so other things you've tried. Who's tried to ignore it and hope that it would go away? Who's done therapy before and thought, or who's used distraction and just gone, well, I'll become a workaholic and I'll just distract myself and hopefully it'll resolve itself. Who's tried all those things and found it didn't work? It's frustrating, isn't it? And so you're like, well, this doesn't work. Who's also tried other approaches, even through coaching, through mentoring, through other, who's tried a few approaches and found, well, it didn't work. You know, I still feel like it didn't resolve the issue. The underlying problems are still there. All right, so Diane's saying me, Kroop's saying me, Kerry's saying me, Taylor's saying me. All right, so we've had an experience, we've tried things. I'd be interested in coaching, but not bow or not now. Maybe you were trying to write. 41 years old. Yeah, right now. Okay, thanks. I did get that. All right. So I would like coaching. All right. So let's have a look at these are other things you've tried. So what I want to share with you today is a new opportunity. And what I call it is nervous system reprogramming. Because what I've worked out is that when you try to make a shift or change in your mind, the mind is very stubborn. The mind doesn't like to let go. The mind doesn't like to forget things. The mind likes to hold on to trauma so that you don't re experience the trauma. Who knows what I'm talking about? And so the mind replays this, believing that it's creating safety for you. That's the way the mind operates. So, what I'm saying is, we can't work with that mind. We can't work with neocortex functioning. We need to work with the reptilian complex. And this is the brain, the reptilian complex, that's directly connected with the nervous system of the body. And so that's my new opportunity. And that's what I'm going to talk about today is how we're going to do this as a way of solving this problem. Okay, we're going to heal the inner child. This is how we do it. We're going to get it down into the nervous system. All right, so tell you about my story. This is my wife, Rebecca, and my three small children. Now, Rebecca was a stepmom. So I'd been married previously. I went through a divorce and then I remarried. And when Beck came along, I was a single dad, three children, bundles of joy. And then Rebecca just joined this family. It was a wonderful experience. So what happened? Well, what happened was the children grew up. And as they grew up, they started making more and more decisions. And there is no other like your mother. Who's heard that saying? There is no other like your mother. Now, the children's mother and my first wife she had some problems, had some major psychological problems and other issues. And yet the children, they loved their mum. They loved their mum and they wanted to go stay with their mum. So they had custody arrangements, and we set up these custody arrangements through the court and other things. And when my children were teenagers, there was a plan. The plan was that the children would go to mum's house and they wouldn't come back to my home again. And I didn't know this plan. I was unaware of it. And so the children said their goodbyes at the beginning of the school holidays. I hugged them all goodbye. Off they went to mum's house. And then they didn't come back. And I was confused by this. I was thinking, what's going on? Why aren't the children in my home? The next thing you know, a court battle ensued. There was complaints made. There was problems. And I found myself being disconnected from the children's life. And it's only recently that I've got very connected with all my children now. I have all children in my life, not to the degree that I'd like them in, but they're in my life. And I asked my oldest daughter, I said, tell me what happened. Can you explain it to me? And she said, Dad, Mum said that if we continued to see you or have a relationship with you, that she would disown us. And wow, that's horrible, is it not? Like, disown your own children. And so this manipulation strategy caused within these children who are young and impressionable this feeling of disconnect. And it was just a horrible thing. And my children are still struggling the psychological effects of that, having to choose a parent. It's a horrible thing to do, but it does happen in divorce situations. It happens when love turns to hate and anger and other things. This happens from time to time. Now, I was on the receiving end of this, and I want you to know that from this place, here's how I was feeling. I was feeling pain. I wanted the pain to stop. It was devastating. These children that I love were no longer in my life. And the other thing is, I'm paying all this child support. I'm feeling emotionally bankrupt. I feel bankrupt. I feel like I've been denied access and contact and love of my children. I still didn't know what was going on. Nobody explained anything to me. I had to go to court and pay for lawyers and other things as well, and it didn't help. Now, I want you to know that my motivation was low. I started feeling like it was too hard. I felt like it was taking too long to get over this. I'd spend hours talking to my wife about it, and she was there for emotional support, and I was there to emotionally support her. So we had each other, we had family, but the loss that we couldn't understand, it just didn't make sense. I couldn't understand it, and no one understood me. Perhaps no one understood what I was going through, the specifics of what I personally was going through in these situations. Now, have you ever felt that? Have you gone through a hard time where your motivation is low? Where you felt like it was just taking too long? You just felt like you were spinning your wheels but getting nowhere? And you felt like you were alone. Nobody understood you. If you can relate to that, just drop yes in the comments if you felt those feelings. And that's how I was feeling. And I wanted to be happy. And I thought to myself, well, time heals, right? Doesn't time heal? And who's ever been taught that? I want you to know that time heals is actually a lie in some instances. Time doesn't always heal. In fact, I know a man who lost a daughter, 12 years passed, he was still suffering just as much or more. Who knows somebody? Just tell me in the chat and just drop me in the comments if you know somebody who went through a tough time years ago and they're still carrying the burden of it, or maybe you are. Just put me in the comments if you know somebody, or whether you're carrying it or somebody else you know is carrying a burden from years ago, and time didn't heal. So this is something that we've been taught and told that actually isn't true. Time does not heal. It's the work, it's the emotional and the psychological work that we need to do that creates the healing. Time doesn't heal, not in and of itself. And so we need to understand that there's more to solving this puzzle than just time. All right, so here I was at this time, and I remember, this is going back years earlier, when I first went through the separation from my first wife. I remember driving along in my car, and I thought this, and I'm a bit ashamed about this like now looking back, but I really think that this might resonate with a couple of people here today. I thought to myself, you know what, all I'd have to do is turn my steering wheel a couple of millimeters or an inch to the side, and I could wrap my car around a pole, and all the pain would stop, and all the pain would be over. And I thought that thought as I was driving along in a car. I'm at 100 kilometers an hour, thinking to myself, I could end it all right now. And like I said, I'm ashamed to say that I thought those thoughts, but I want you to know that it's not uncommon for people to think that way. Just write yes in the comment if you've ever had that type of thought. If you can relate to that, if you ever had that, just as a fleeting thought, you didn't act on it, but you thought those thoughts. All right. Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate that. All right. So what I wanted was the pain to stop. Now I ended up going to a seminar, and I was someone who in 2015 I was gifted with a seminar ticket. In 2016 I went to another seminar. I was taught in the first seminar that I should be going to seminars regularly. I was told that if I wanted to heal, that I needed to start attending seminars as a regular pattern in my life. And so 2015, I went to a 4-day seminar. 2016, I went to a few seminars. I started making seminar attendance a part of my life. And not only the free seminars, I reached into my pocket, I pulled out some money, and I actually went and I paid for a seminar. You might wonder, why have I got $1,000 in my pocket? That's just what I do. It's hard to feel poor when you've got $1,000 in your pocket, right? It makes me feel more wealthy. So here I was, paying my money, going to a seminar, and I found something. I found the key. I found something that works. So here's what it is. I discovered there was a healing process. I discovered that I could recognize the problem, that I could stop picking at it, and that I could find forgiveness. I realized that there were steps to this process of healing. Who's ever been told the steps of healing before? Here they are, right here. There's these 3 steps to healing. Recognize it, stop picking at it, and forgive. Now, when it comes to stop picking at it, I realized that I needed to start thinking differently about the events. I needed to process it in my mind differently. And it was Dr. Wayne Dyer that said this. He says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so I realized that if I was going to heal, then I needed that type of change. So what I did was I went along to these seminars, started learning every technique that I could that worked. Then I started applying them, and then I go to the next seminar, I learn another one, and I started rebuilding myself. And so from 2015 to 2020, I attended 20 seminars, spent 2 hours every morning on a morning routine, and I wanted to do everything that I could to rewire my thinking, rework my nervous system, so that I could create change at every level: mind, heart, body, spirit, and soul. And so growth, what I discovered, led to joy, which led to happiness. And what I discovered was, over time, healing occurred. And now today, I'm completely healed from that. In fact, I see my children today, there's no anger, there's no upset, there's no hurt, there's nothing at all. I mean, I could consider that some people would say, why did you leave me? Do you realize what that did to me? Do you realize how hurt I was? And I realize that many people may respond in that manner. Now, I didn't respond in that manner. I responded with nothing but forgiveness and love, because I went through the healing process. And having gone through the healing process, now looking back, now I'm in a position where I can guide others through healing their inner child and get the results that they want. When you heal that inner child, you'll find that your whole life will be different. It'll be unrecognizable to yourself and to others. Just drop a yes in the comments if that's what you would like. Would you like to get to a point where you're completely absolved, healed, you can let go completely from all past trauma, and you can just start living your life in a state of, we say, in a state of being deliberate, a state of being deliberate. Let's talk about that. Because most people live in reaction. They react to the circumstances of their life because of the triggers of the past. Whereas what I want you to do is live deliberately, meaning that you get to choose your emotional state and even your emotional reaction to situations. And we can choose that ahead of time. And that's where becoming an emotional master plays out. All right, so happiness. Happiness is the object and design of our existence. That's what we're all after, is happiness. We want to find happiness. And what I discovered was that growth and contribution lead to fulfillment. And fulfillment, I believe, is an extension of happiness. Fulfillment and happiness go hand in hand. And so growth is a key component. And so I'd encourage you to start thinking about your own growth. What are you willing to do to change? Are you willing to unlock yourself fully and completely so that you can unleash the best parts of yourself on this world? So I want you to know that, there's many people have gone on this road. Many people have traveled the path that you're currently on. And I've been able to work with some people over the time. I want to tell you about Dee. Dee was waking up a couple of times every week with nightmares. Dee was in a relationship in the USA with a man that wasn't emotionally supportive. In fact, he was abusive. And so Dee got out of that relationship. She moved to Australia, all the way down under. And that's where I live, in Brisbane, Australia, if you notice my accent. And Dee came along to a free introductory session like you're at now. And her and I decided to do some one-on-one work. When I did the one-on-one session, I took her through an emotional clearing process. And by taking her through that process, at the end of it, something incredible happened. Dee stopped having nightmares, because those nightmares were her unconscious mind communicating with her consciously, telling her, you've still got stuff to resolve here. Stuff being a technical term. You've still got trauma in your life that you haven't resolved. You're trying to distract yourself, or you're trying to look up. And what Dee said was that she'd spend hours on the internet trying to work out why she was the way she was. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I this way? Why do I have... She had a locked jaw. She had other problems. She had social anxiety. She had these other issues. So there was a mountain of issues that she was dealing with. And it was that one session that we did that, once we got rid of the nightmares, then I continued to work with her. We did a few more sessions and we helped her to make some changes in her life. So it was incredible to see her transformation and her turnaround. She had lockjaw, and she could open her jaw up only enough for one finger to fit in. So she had trouble eating and all sorts of things because of this problem. And I wanted to know if there was a psychological reason for it. And so we did a process with her. By the end of it, she could fit 3 fingers in. So her jaw had loosened and opened more just in one session. So this is one 40-minute session or 45-minute session. So I want you to know that the work that I do is incredibly powerful. It works with the unconscious mind, it works with the nervous system of the body, and it creates change. Carla came along to a session, and afterwards she said that her inner critic became her biggest cheerleader. Can you believe that? That's the turnaround she got. So if you think about that inner voice, who has a voice that's quite critical? Well, who'd like to change that? Well, that's what Carla's experience was, is that that voice became her biggest cheerleader. And she said it just made the world of difference. She started taking on bigger risks and challenges and living her life differently because now she had unconscious support where before she had unconscious resistance. And Pam, now it took Pam a little bit of time to do this. Pam was in her 60s. Finally, in her 60s, she finally forgave her dad. And she remembered the moment when it happened. She was with a friend and they were conversing and they had a conversation, and the work that we had done on her mind and nervous system suddenly all came together. It was like that jigsaw puzzle. And finally, the last piece moved into the puzzle, and suddenly there was this overwhelming feeling of release. And she said to me excitedly, she said, "Josh, I finally forgave my dad. After something like 50 plus years, I finally forgave my stupid dad." That's what she called him. And that's the way she said it. But she was smiling. She was happy. She was lighter. And so Pam went through that experience. So I want you to know that these processes, they work, they're powerful, they're effective. All right, so what we've got today is 3 keys to unlock yourself in the area of the healing the inner child work. And let's have a look at those. What are they? So the first one is your ability to consistently create your dream life and never lose motivation. So one thing that a wounded child will do for you is cause you to lack that motivation. Because you're in pain, because you're hurting, it's hard to move forward. If you know what I'm talking about, just write yes in the comments. If you felt that there's unconscious resistance, something's holding me back, I feel stuck. I feel stuck. Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's the first key. The second key is your ability to ensure that mindset and empowerment tools work every time. Who would like an effective method to know whether a technique's going to work or not? Who'd like that? To be able to look at a technique and say, well, is it going to work or isn't it? Who's tried techniques before and they don't work? Who's tried to use different tools and somebody says, oh, this will work for you, and then you try and it doesn't work for you? If you had that experience, I'm going to show you how to ensure that the tools work every single time. Does that sound good? If that's something you really want to know, this is gold. This took me years, and I spent $85,000 in about 10 years researching all of this to find it, and I'm going to give it today to you. I'm just going to give it to you on a silver platter. I'm going to show you. Is that great? Like that means you don't have to do all that work. I'm going to give it to you today and show you the way. All right, and the third one is the ability to experience happiness and excitement each and every day. So what we want to do is we want to find out that happiness isn't off in the future somewhere, but happiness is in the now, it's in the present. And you can experience that every day. Once you heal that inner child, this opens up a whole new world for you, a whole new world of adventure and excitement, happiness. And that's what we're going to look at. So these are the 3 keys to make this work. Let's go to the first one. How to consistently create your dream life and never lose motivation. All right, how do we do that? So we want to learn from the past, look to the future, live in the present, love our life. I've added this last bit, but the saying's there. It's from Petra Nemkova. But what we've got here is loving your life. That's the end goal. You want to have and design a life that you love. Now, Success Resources, I'll tell you how I learn about this. Learn about how to create that dream life. Success Resources contacted me. I'd been to an event in 2016, 2017. They contacted me and they said, "Hi, Josh, how are you today? How are you after the event? Did you get excited during the event?" I said, "Yes, I did. I enjoyed the event. How have you been since the event?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm more excited." And the woman at the other end of the phone went quiet. didn't understand that. That didn't make sense. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I've been doing something in my life that's been creating an enhancement of excitement, and I'm even more excited than I was at the seminar. And the reason she went quiet was because that's very unusual. She went on to explain to me that about 97% of people find that their energy goes up during a seminar. They get all excited about it, and then it wanes or it plateaus, and then it goes down again. Now, drop yes in the comments if you've had that experience. You've gone to an event, you've gone to a seminar, you got really pumped up at the time, but it didn't last. And you needed to go and get another fix. Or go, it's like a drug, isn't it? You take that drug, and then you've got to take more of the drug. You've got to take a bigger quantity. You've got to take it more often just to get the same level of boost in your life. Now, I'm using a drug as an example, but what I'm suggesting is that these were, natural highs that people go through in an event. People go to an event and they feel good. And they come away from the event feeling excited, they're enthusiastic, they get all pumped up and they believe it's going to work. But then what happens is over time, they start to think to themselves, well, I didn't think it would last. Maybe I'm just not meant to have those good things in life. Maybe I'm not meant to create that change consistently. And then you start to think, well, maybe this wasn't the right thing. It's not going to work. It's not worked for me. Just drop yes if you've had that experience. If you've gone up, you've felt the high, you've plateaued, and then you've dropped in that energy and you've gone through that whole cycle. Just drop yes. So Kerry has. Wonderful. Okay, so we're in good company here. Now, there was something specific that I did to stop that from happening. I'm going to share that with you now. Now, to stop that happening, and here's how I learned this. I did the emotional clearing work. I healed the inner child. I started doing emotional clearing, and I did it every day for about 30 days. I did a lot of meditating, and I went through a process. And I tell you what, at the end of that, I felt completely free because I persisted, because I didn't do it just once. Now today, I'm going to give you an experience. You'll have an experience once and you'll feel like, oh, I'm healed. And you will feel that way. But what I'm suggesting is don't let your conscious mind fool you into thinking the work's all done. That's what some people do. They go, oh, I've done it once, it's fixed. Well, remember what's happened in the past and go in deeper. Do a bit more work. Work beyond what you have to. Now, when it comes to learning something, here's what I love about learning, is that you can learn something so that you can repeat it and get it right. Or you can learn something to the level where you can't get it wrong. Now think about that. There's two different ways to learn. You can learn it so you remember it, so you get it right. That's the first level. The second level is you learn it to the extent that you cannot get it wrong. Now, which level of learning do you want? I would suggest go for the second. So the idea is I'm going to share something with you today. I want you to learn it so you get it right. But here's what I want you to do is consider learning it to the level where you can't get it wrong. And that's what I want to guide you to do today. Okay, to find out, well, where can you go to get the information that you need so you can't get it wrong. So you make sure that it works for you, not just here and now, but every single time. All right, so what we've got is vision. You've got to have a vision for your life. Without vision, the people perish. Step 3 is coaching. I believe in coaching as the most effective way to make changes in your life. I got a coach in 2016. I spent 12 months in the coaching program. I was doing seminars and coaching. I had both working together simultaneously. It's like a hand-in-hand approach. And the other thing I discovered was NSR, nervous system reprogramming. So if anyone's heard of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, well, what NSR is, it's the focus of the specific techniques that work directly with the nervous system. Because I discovered that when you work with the nervous system, change can happen in an instant, way faster than if you do cognitive therapy or any sort of cognitive training. If you work with the cognitive part of your mind, the thinking part, that's slow change. As soon as you work with the nervous system, you're looking at rapid change. You're looking at 10xing your result. Dahlia is saying, I don't stay on course, just like exercise star, then don't continue. Yeah. So you start. So what we need to do is reprogram your nervous system so that you do remain consistent. And like I said, with these tools, there's ways to do that. So I can help you to make a commitment, make a decision, and to stay the course. And there's ways to do it, but it's all nervous system reprogramming and nervous system training. If you've got a track record of falling off the bandwagon, so to speak, this is what we call it when people are addicted to something. But the biggest addiction that you've got is the addiction of being yourself. Anyone who knows Dr. Joe Dispenza would understand that he's got a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And one of his teachings is that the biggest addiction that you have is the addiction of being you. And so that's something we need to break. And so these are the ways to break it. And NSR is so powerful. And so those are the steps. The steps are, let's go through them one more time: emotional clearing, a vision, coaching, and NSR tools. Once you understand that, and look, I provide all of these things. And so the program that I run through Access World Seminars is the vehicle that you can use to get all of that. You'll learn NSR tools. You'll have the work done on you. I do emotional clearing processes. There's a whole stack of processes I do, depending on what a person needs. Sometimes I do basic processes, you could say, which is like an all-encompassing process. And other times I do the more deep dive processes. And so I have access to a thing called neurotransformation therapy. And that takes 6 sessions. 6 sessions of working with me one-on-one to go deeply into healing the inner child. Then there's other processes like the gift, the voice of authority, the Ironman process, which are a single stop therapy sessions where you just do it once. And if a person has more minor past issues, we can resolve them and we can help the person heal the inner child. And here's the way to look at it. If you're getting results, if you're making your goals turn into reality, if you feel like there's no resistance, then you're fine. As soon as you feel resistance, it's time to do some more inner healing work. Does that make sense? When you start feeling the resistance, that's when we go back and do the work. So what I would suggest is you do a technique. It could be one technique, an emotional clearing practice, and you start moving forward and you're moving, great. You don't need any more emotional clearing. Once you start feeling that pull and that resistance again, go back and do the inner healing work then as you need to. That's one of, or you can do what I did and just do it 30 times. You just do every process you know. You just take a deep dive into emotional clearing and do as much as you can. You spend 1, 2, 3 months saturating yourself in the emotional clearing work and then free yourself for the next 5 years. You know, that's the type. Who would like that? That's the 2 different approaches. All right, so what I want to tell you about now is Daniel. Daniel came along to a session. Daniel wasn't getting results in his life. After a session, he went and bought a home. He had money. He'd just been putting it off. He had that resistance. Once he went and did the work, that resistance was gone. He went and purchased a home. And recently he's just made hundreds of thousands of dollars because his home appreciated. Fantastic. He's made a lot of money. He's a wealthy man. Shaman was dealing with depression and anxiety. She came along to some sessions and she walked away with a big smile on her face. She said she now had tools to get out of that depression. She didn't have to stay there. She realized that it wasn't just a chemical reaction that she couldn't do anything about, that she needed medication for. I showed her a complementary approach. You know, some people say alternative, others say complementary. I like the term complementary. I'm not saying that we need to get rid of all medication in everyone at all times, but what I am saying is there's a complementary approach that may reduce your medication. It may eliminate it. I don't know. Let's find out. And thirdly, Kay had been dealing with suicidal tendencies, depression for 20 years. She said she'd read books, she'd gone to courses, and she'd done things in the past, and she said it was getting worse. And it wasn't until she came to a session that I conducted, it was NSR. I did a nervous system reprogramming training over 2 days. And upon doing that session, she said it was all gone. She felt like it was completely gone from her life. She said it reworked and rewired her system, and all of those suicidal thoughts, tendencies, and desires were all completely gone from her life. So isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible that Daniel could buy a house? You think that's amazing? I think that's incredible. And also Shaman, years of depression, now she had the tools to get rid of it. And also Kay, suicidal thinking, all gone. Isn't that incredible? So I just look at this and just go, wow, if it works for Kay, works for Shaman, works for Daniel, what's going to happen for you? And so I just think that way. I just think these are great tools. They work, they're effective. They're going to work for you. It works for everyone. Anyone who's willing to put in the effort, the time, the energy, it's going to work. So who does it work for? If you're a mother, you're a father, it's going to work. If you're a husband, you're a wife. If you're committed to a process and stay committed, it's going to work for you. If you're someone who shows up, if you're someone who's open to the possibility, what could I create? I want to be more open. And someone who wants happiness. If this is a desire, if it's not just a fleeting thing, but you really want it, then go for it. Make it work. So the key here is your ability to consistently create your dream life and never lose motivation. Now, it just so happens that I do coaching. I have courses that I run. I do group coaching sessions. I do NSR training program sessions. All of that is in my program. And that's why I believe that the principles and the tools that I teach through the program, they're the best out there. I think they're the greatest out there. I see other programs that charge 5 times more that are less effective. They don't have the NSR approach. It's just information. Oh, here's the information. And it's working with the neocortex. And so you walk away going, that was great, but nothing changes internally. You haven't made the nervous system shifts to get the results that you want. Does that make sense? You're getting information, but you don't know how to translate that into knowledge. It's like Dee that I spoke about before that had the nightmares. Dee said she's researching, why am I like this? Why? But how to fix it? She said, I didn't know. Not until I started learning about the tools. The tools do the inner fixing work. It's the tools that matter most. All right, so ability to live your dream life, never lose motivation. Let's look at secret 2. Now, how do you ensure that mindset and empowerment tools work every time? I'm going to tell you. Now, how did I learn about this? I actually, like you, I'm someone who has gone through YouTube and I've looked for many videos and finding out why things are the way they are. And I'd heard this statement that if you can control your thoughts, you can control the direction of your life. So it's all about your thoughts and your thinking. Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. And so I always thought that if I was going to be successful in life, that I needed to take control of my thoughts. Who's with me? Who's had that thought as well? Who's had that if I can take control of my thoughts, if I can directionalize my thoughts, then I can get the goal and the result that I want. I see Migdalia nodding her head. So that's wonderful. All right, so thoughts was the answer. But then I wasn't getting the results and I wasn't thinking positively all the time. So I made this goal that I was going to try and think positively for a whole day. One negative thought, and it didn't work. While I was thinking about it, I could do it. But as soon as I didn't, negative thoughts would come back in. I'd have these thoughts like, it's not going to work. You know you're wasting your time. You got all these thoughts and you're like in this constant fight with your thoughts and your thinking. If you know what I'm talking about, just drop yes in the comments. If you've been that and you've thought, okay, I'm going to be a positive thinker. I've been told think and grow rich. I've been told just think positively. You'll get better results. I'm trying to do it. And then I found the answer. I realized that every thought comes about because of an emotion. And I realized that every emotion comes about because of a feeling. And I realized that the biggest part of the unconscious mind was actually the body. It was the meat suit. And so I experimented with this. And so what I did was I jumped up and got excited. So I went to work one day and I'm standing in the foyer area. There's no one there. There was a camera there. Hopefully nobody's watching the camera. But I decided to put my bag down on the floor and I decided to do something different. I was going to jump with excitement like I was a little child, like I was 3 years or 5 years old, and it was Christmas morning. So I put my bag down and I started jumping up and down with excitement and enthusiasm. I was jumping up and down, I was moving my body. I was, my facial expression was excited, and I was jumping up and down with joy. And I did that for about 10 seconds. And then I stopped. I calmed myself down so I didn't look like some sort of freak that needs to be in a straitjacket when I walked in. Because when you see somebody with that a level of enthusiasm, it's a bit weird. Right? It's a bit strange. They lock people up for that. They put them in a straitjacket. There's a white van that comes and picks them up and they take them away. Okay, so I didn't want that to happen. So I calmed myself down. I walked into my work. But here's what I discovered. My brain was switched on. My brain began to fire up. And I thought, that's interesting. And so what I did during the day was I ducked off to the bathroom and I got excited again. I just got really pumped. I jumped up and down a few times. I got the blood circulating through my body. I got my heart rate up, and I walked back out and I discovered that little technique started to change the way that I was thinking much more effectively than trying to control my thoughts from a passive state. The largest part of the unconscious mind is your body. It's your meat suit. So this became a change for me. Here's what I discovered, and I'll share this with you now. So what we need to look at is the prerequisites of change. What do you need to do? So there's 3 steps, and that's how I discovered it. I found so the first one is the psychology of the instructor. I realized if somebody's going to teach you a tool, then you've got to think about, well, how is their psychology? Do they believe it's going to work? Do they know that it's going to work? Are they a little bit cocky with their knowledge? Like they know it, but they don't just know it, they really know it. You think about Han Solo in the movie Star Wars, where Princess Leia says to him, "I love you." And then expecting a response, he turned to her and he did give her a response, but not the one she was probably expecting. He just smiled and says, "I know." so we laugh because it is a funny response. But how cocky. It's a really cocky response. But think about what you need if somebody's going to help you get change. You need somebody who doesn't just think, "Oh, I think this will work." You need someone who knows it's going to work. Next, play pretend. The next thing, and this is something you've got to do. So this one's all about the instructor. This is about me. The next one is play pretend. Can you play pretend? Can you become childlike? That's the next one. Next one's full absorption. Can you imagine back when you're a child, your brain's like a sponge, you're soaking up the world around you? Think about this. Can you get into a state of excitement, a state of joy? Can you have faith? And can you also be in a state of curiosity? Can you have that curiosity? If you can meet those prerequisites, you can get the change. And the last one is have fun. So go through them again. Play pretend, full absorption, have fun. You do all those 3 things, you're guaranteed to get a change. These are the 3 prerequisites to change. Now, any process that hasn't worked for you in the past, it's because the instructor didn't have the right psychology. The instructor couldn't convince you that what they had was going to work. Next, you didn't play pretend. You didn't go into that childlike state. Next, you didn't allow yourself to be fully absorbed in the process. What does that mean? Follow instructions. And you also didn't have fun during the process. Maybe you tried to change in a state of pain. Maybe you tried to stay with in the midst of the trauma. Maybe you relived the trauma. Maybe you're in therapy and you talked about the trauma and you had all of these negative feelings in your body. So one thing that we know is that you're guaranteed to change if you meet all 3 of those prerequisites. Okay, tell me this. Is that good to know? Is that interesting? Who knows what I'm talking about? So here's what I want you to do now. Just close your eyes and take a nice, deep, relaxing breath and just let go. Allowing yourself to be guided by the sound of my voice. Just let go. Just allow yourself to relax fully and completely. And here's what I want you to do is just imagine that younger version of yourself, that little child that is you. Imagine seeing them now in front of you. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to just imagine that little child that is you is in front of you, in the here and the now. And I want you to reach your arms around that little child and give them a big hug. Just go ahead and reach your arms, wrap your arms around them, Give them a big hug. Remember, play pretend, full absorption, follow instructions, and have fun. Put a smile on your face as you hug that little child that is you. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to whisper into that child's ear the words, I love you. I love you. That's it. I love you. And then tell that child, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter how your life plays out, I will always love you. I'll be there for you to comfort, support, to love, to nurture. And it's because I love you. And just give that little child that is you a hug. And here's what I want you to notice. Notice as you're giving that little child a hug, that he or she begins to shrink smaller and smaller until they fit perfectly into your heart. Just imagine that. Imagine that little child that is you in your heart. All the comfort, all the care, all the love. And just feel what it's like to connect with that little child. Just feel what it's like to love that little child. To have that little child feel as though you love him or her. Have that little child feel the feeling of being loved. Experience that love. Feel the love. Enjoy the love. And just imagine there's now a connection. And there's a connection between you and that inner child, that little child that is you. There's a connection forever, a forever connection. The you are both one. You're complete, you're whole, you're together. You're there to support that inner child, to love that inner child, to nurture that inner child, to be there for that inner child, to be like the guardian angel, the protector that that child may not have had during their childhood. And now you're there. You're there to comfort, support, love, and be there for that inner child. Now I'm going to count you back now from 1 to 5. And in every ascending number, you're going to find yourself returning back to this place we call reality. And while keeping your eyes closed, you're going to open your eyes in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, with a new reality. A reality where, number 1, you're the one who's decided to live, to learn, to love, to leave a legacy. You're the one who's decided to learn from the past, to look to the future, to live in the present and love your life. Number 2, all of these suggestions from me to you and from you to your other than conscious mind. And now moving 10 times deeper than ever before. You see, tonight while you sleep and while you rest, your unconscious mind will make all of the necessary changes to bring about transformation here, now, and forever. While you sleep, while you rest, your mind will cycle over the information you've learned today, where you've understood the value of emotional clearing and emotional clearing techniques, where you'll recognize and understand that you must have a vision for your life. You understand the value of coaching and how important and powerful coaching is to help you resolve, dissolve, and solve the issues of your past. And also you'll reinforce and have it reinforced in your own mind and own heart how valuable NSR is, nervous system reprogramming, understanding that all true change takes place in the unconscious mind below the level of conscious thought. Number 3, remember there's always 3 ways to overcome any situation, circumstance, or challenge that you face. There's always 3 solutions to every problem in your other than conscious mind. And you will effortlessly, easily grab hold of those solutions for the benefit of yourself and all concerned. And recognize and realize this, that the reason change is happening in your mind, in your heart, in your nervous system right now is because of the psychology of the instructor. Firstly, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm giving this information to you basically on a silver platter, helping you to understand, comprehend, and know the truth of who you are. And the truth is that you can heal your inner child. The truth is that you can have complete and full healing. The truth is that you can have healing to a degree that there is no resistance anymore in your life, ever, here, now, and also in the future. Remember this also, that the reason that you're getting success here and now The reason why when you sleep and rest this night that new connections will take place and that new synaptic and neurons, new synaptic connections will form, new neurons of progress will be created in your mind is because you've done those three things. What are they? You allowed yourself to play pretend. You're going through this meditation. You're following instructions. You've allowed yourself to be absorbed in the process. You're absorbing yourself right now. Even as you listen to the words that I'm speaking, you're finding yourself going deeper, being more absorbed, and allowing your brain to go into a childlike state, a state of curiosity, a state of faith, a state of joy, a state of excitement, allowing your mind, body, spirit, and soul to all come together to culminate in one for the benefit of yourself and the healing that you require and need at every level: mind, heart, body, spirit, and soul. Number 4, because it's all for you. You've done the work. You've allowed yourself to be fully absorbed. You've allowed yourself to follow instructions. You've allowed yourself to play pretend, and also just put a smile on your face as you allow yourself to have fun in this process. Because the more fun that you have, the quicker the change will happen. The larger the transformation, the more powerful the results. On this next count, you'll find yourself returning back to this place we call reality, bringing with you a brand new reality. Glad to be alive, ready to thrive. Number 5. Just go ahead now and wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, put a big smile on your face, and gently open your eyes. Open your eyes. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Take a nice deep breath and just type into the chat what just happened. What did you notice? What's different? What's changed? How was that experience for you, meeting your inner child? Was that nice? Now that's an adaptation of a bigger process that I do called the gift. Okay, so what we're giving you is now the best version. Ready to go to the gym. Good on you. Very nice. Wonderful. I feel lighter, says Taylor. Very, very good. Warm, says Corey. Beautiful. All right, so let's continue. So you just did those steps. So I proved to you then that the techniques work. I just showed you they work. So what you did was you realize that I've got a psychology. I believe and know what I'm talking about. You play pretend, followed that step of play pretend. You followed this step of full absorption. You follow this step. You had fun during the process, and we unlocked you. We made some changes happen in your life. Now let me tell you about some other people that have changed. What we've got here is Venny. Venny had a sore wrist. He'd broken that when he was young. I did a process with Venny. All of the pain was pretty much gone. It went down to a 1. So we went from a 9 to 1. Michael had cancer. Michael got liver cancer at the same time as another person in his workplace got cancer at the exact same time. Michael came to see me and we did some sessions together. And I did some work with his unconscious mind and with his nervous system. Now, Michael is still with us today. 10 years have passed on. The friend at his workplace passed on about 18 months after he was originally diagnosed with cancer. So I want you to know that mindset, when it comes to disease, when it comes to cancer, when it comes to things that are happening in the body, if you want that to go into remission, do the work. Do the work. Yes, certainly look at diet, look at exercise, look at other things, but also think about your psychology and find an instructor, find someone who knows what to do and how to work with the nervous system to create long-term change. And the third one, there was a young boy in hospital. He had a heart condition. As a result of this heart condition, he was given an injection, a large needle. And the tears were just streaming down his face because of the pain. It was intense. And this poor young boy, I wanted to help him. And so I did a technique, reduced all of his pain down to 0. And he had tears of pain. Then he had tears of joy. His dad was so happy. His dad thanked me. And I also showed him how to do the technique so that he could do it when I wasn't there. And so one thing that I do with the tools that I share is I show people what to do. I say, here you go, take this tool. Use it in your own life. So the second P is the ability to ensure that mindset empowerment tools work every single time. And what we've got here is the last one. I'm going to go through this very rapidly. So what we've got here is happiness and excitement each and every day. So community. What I discovered was doing that technique every day helped me, but I realized that, well, it's really hard if you don't have support. It's hard to keep going by yourself and on your own. And so what I discovered was you need support from a community. And so what I did was I started to create a morning routine for myself, set goals and a way to reinforce them. I created a future belonging, and then I started focusing on what I have. And then I created Access World Seminars, which helps people to get and maintain a morning routine with accountability, to help people reinforce their goals consistently, help people get that future belonging, and help people focus on what they have. And so the whole program that I run is designed for that reason. And so you'll have support from the group. It's not just yourself. You're not going to be on your own. Quite often when you're on your own, you lose motivation. You can lose traction. You're not hearing the winds around you. One thing that's beneficial about the group dynamic is when you hear somebody else's success, when somebody else says it's working, it can reinvigorate you. Like, let's say you're doing it every day, but it's not working, but then you hear somebody else and you hear a success story and they say, hey, I did this and it's working. Then what you may get is a renewed sense of vigor where you're going to try again. You're going to put in more effort. You're going to keep going. You're not going to give up. But one thing that I know is that success leaves clues. And if you want to find success in yourself, find somebody else who's successful, do what they do, and get that success. And that's what the group is. The group dynamic is such that we work together to help each other along this journey. Now, here's the thing I want to share with you now. And so that's what the third one is. How do you stay motivated? Well, there's a group dynamic that helps you do that. You're not alone.